Hey everyone. So today I want to talk about STDs and BV. So BV simply stands for bacterial vaginosis. Sometimes it's also referred to as vaginitis. They can be used interchangeably, but the specific STDs that I want to talk about are bacterial induced STDs as opposed to viral induced STDs. The two are very different. So some types of bacterial induced STDs are chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis. So for this video, I'm just basically going to be focusing on BV because I can't do all four of them, but they're all very similar. So whatever I say about BV in terms of how to treat it and the general mechanism of how the bacteria works holds true for all STDs. So, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to focus on BV, bacterial vaginosis. So the symptoms of BV are usually you'll have if you're a woman, you'll have a gray discharge or watery skim milk like discharge in appearance. It'll usually smell bad. Sometimes it'll smell like fish or it'll have like a sewage smell. It's also can be accompanied by pain during intercourse. And if you have some of the other STDs, you'll have similar symptoms. Sometimes you'll also have sores on your genitals as well. So when you have an STD or you have BV, you know because you're experiencing these symptoms and they're very uncomfortable. So basically, in terms of BV, estrogen and pH are the two most important factors that influence the types of bacteria that are present in your vagina. So a normal healthy vagina has a pH of about 4.5. So that's it's slightly on the acidic side of the scale, which is good. You want to have a slightly acidic vagina because it helps helpful friendly bacteria such as lactobacillus. It helps them to um, to grow and to thrive. And the reason why you want these bacteria, I know a lot of bacteria get a bad rep, but some bacteria are actually, you need them in your body. They're necessary, such as the bacteria that are found in your vagina and the ones in your gut. The ones in your gut, they help you to digest food. They help you to digest food that you wouldn't otherwise be able to digest, such as some certain types of fiber and certain types of cellulose. So you actually need bacteria in your body. Um, if you have BV or if you've been diagnosed with BV in the past, the reason why you got BV was because the friendly bacteria decreased and the harmful bacteria increased. So usually, in a healthy vagina, you'll have a lot of lactobacillus, which is good. You want lactobacillus, but when you have BV, the lactobacillus goes down and the gram-negative bacteria go up. Now, the reason why you don't really want gram-negative bacteria in your body is because they're causing the infection. They're opportunistic pathogens that cause infection. The reason why they're very harmful is because they have two cell membranes as opposed to the helpful bacteria. They have only one cell membrane. So gram-negative bacteria are really really hard to get rid of sometimes because of that extra protection they have around them to defend themselves. Um, so pretty much all of the STDs that I mentioned that are chlamydia, gonorrhea, and syphilis, they all are caused by gram-negative bacteria, right? So usually, if you feel like you have an STD or you feel like something's not quite right down there, you'll go to the doctor. They'll give you like a blood test or urine test. Take a swab of your vagina, put the cultures under a microscope, and determine what kind of STD you have. And they'll usually give you some antibiotics and send you on your way, right? So the goal of my video is to basically show you guys some healthy alternatives to antibiotics, some herbs that are basically natural antibiotics, and to show you the harm in antibiotics. So a lot of you, some of you may know, some of you may not know that have heard of something called antibiotic resistance. So if you haven't heard of it, you need to really do some research because antibiotic resistance is a public health epidemic pretty much. So if you go on the CDC website and type in antibiotic resistance, you'll find a whole bunch of information on that. But I'm just going to tell you guys about a couple of things that I thought were pretty interesting and that you guys should be made aware of about antibiotic resistance, right? So according to the CDC, 2 million people are sickened each year with antibiotic resistant infections, with at least 23,000 people dying. So I don't know about you, but 2 million people and 23,000 people, that's a lot of people. And that causes some concerns for me, and it should for you as well, because we're all part of the human population. So what affects one person may or may not affect you or your family member or someone close to you, right? So you're having 23 people dying, 23,000 people have died each year from antibiotic resistance, and 2 million people are sickened each year with antibiotic resistance. And then furthermore, many more die from other complications associated with antibiotic resistance, right? So antibiotic resistance is spread between continents with ease. So that's a huge problem, because many of us take vacations. We go on vacation all the time. We go visit Jamaica. We go to the Bahamas. America is a melting pot. We have all different types of people who come here, people who immigrate over here, So antibiotic resistance is spread with ease between continents. So you can easily catch it from someone who is native to this country and vice versa. So 250,000 people each year require hospitalization for Clostridium difficile. Clostridium difficile is basically a superbug that has been on the rise due to antibiotic resistance. And 14,000 people die each year due to this superbug that is caused by antibiotic resistance. So these are huge numbers. These are tens of thousands of people. Like, this is a lot of people. Furthermore, antibiotic resistance adds considerable and avoidable costs to the already overburdened U.S. healthcare system in the amount of $20 billion. So this epidemic, the antibiotic resistance epidemic, adds $20 billion onto healthcare costs. Now, I mean, unless you're living under a rock, you know that our healthcare system is in shambles. I mean, we have the whole insurance problem. We have people who can't afford insurance. You have Trump trying to get rid of Obamacare. So we should not be adding on to the problems that the healthcare system is facing. We have doctors who are working long hours, nurses who are working long hours. They're overworked, underpaid. We have all these problems. So we should be trying to avoid adding to the burdens as much as we can. So antibiotics are the most commonly prescribed drug. Up to 50% of antibiotics that are prescribed are not needed or are not optimally effective as prescribed, which means that the dose that's prescribed isn't enough to kill the actual bacteria, which leads to antibiotic resistance. Furthermore, it's found in food and animals to control disease and for weight gain. So a lot of times, most of the stuff that you eat, if you go to the grocery store and you're buying a pack of grilled chicken, or if you're buying like some ground beef, if it doesn't say no antibiotics were used, if it doesn't actually say on the package, you can pretty much just go ahead and say that antibiotics were used in that food. So antibiotics are found in food and animals, and that includes vegetables and meats that are not organic or labeled non-GMO. It's spread from human to human, animal to human, and it's very common in hospitals and nursing homes. So a lot of times when people go to hospitals for extended stays, they actually become antibiotic resistant. The reason why this happens is because antibiotics kill both the bad bacteria as well as the good bacteria. So they don't differentiate. Antibiotics don't say, okay, well, let me go in here, let me just only kill the gram-negative bacteria and leave the gram-positive bacteria. No, they go in there and they wipe out everything. So now the drug-resistant bacteria are able to take over, proliferate, and pass their genes on to other bacteria, which further complicates the disease and makes them turn into superbugs. So now these bacteria are evolving more and more. And the same happens in animals. Animals become, antibiotic resistant. They develop their resistance in their guts. And so when we eat these animals, we're taking on their problems that they have as well. So gram-negative pathogens, which are the pathogens that are responsible for causing BV and the STDs that I mentioned earlier, are becoming resistant to nearly all drugs. So this is a huge problem. They're becoming nearly resistant to all drugs, and some say in the near future, maybe like, I don't know what the near future is, but to me the near future is like 10 years. In 10 years, a simple infection like anything like a bronchitis or something could potentially kill you or make you very, very, very sick, to the point where you're not on the cusp of death. Antibiotics are responsible for 1 out of 5 emergency room visits. Okay, this is very important. So bacteria always evolve naturally and slowly, so we will always need new drugs to keep up. They have become resistant to every antibiotic developed. So what does that tell me? It says bacteria always evolve naturally and slowly, so we will always need new drugs to keep up. So it seems like that's just a never-ending cycle. So okay, let's say this year they have antibiotic A that works for these diseases and it's fine. Next year, the bacteria are like, oh, okay, they trying to give us antibiotic A, we just gonna evolve. And so now they have to make antibiotic B, which is more powerful than antibiotic A. And so now the bacteria have to evolve as well. So now these bacteria are getting more and more powerful as the antibiotics are getting powerful. The bacteria as well are getting powerful because they have to evolve so that they're not killed. They have to protect themselves as well. The bacteria, they're just simply protecting themselves from being wiped out as any organism would. Furthermore, microorganisms outweigh the human population by 100 million times. The organisms in your gut are responsible for 80% of your immune system function, and they outnumber your body cells by 10 times. So the bacteria that we have in our body outweigh our actual cells by 10 times. So there's really no way to completely deal with this problem of just getting rid of bacteria. That's impossible. Like I said before, you need bacteria and they outweigh your body cells by 10 times. The FDA has known for more than 12 years that the routine use of antibiotics in livestock is harmful to human health, which is why I say it's very, very important that you try to eat organic and non-GMO as much as you can, specifically where it says that no antibiotics were used. GMOs from food can transfer genetic material to your normal gut bacteria, turning them into superbugs. GMOs, genetically modified organisms, activate and deactivate thousands of genes in the human body. So that means that when you're eating some produce or some meat that is not organic or not non-GMO, you're introducing foreign genetic material into your body. These foreign genetic materials are largely bacteria. They transfer their genes to the bacteria you have in your body, and then they evolve. Right? So another thing is, I know a lot of us, like, we have piercings, or we go and get piercings, like a nose piercing or whatever, and then they tell you to get the dial soap, which is antibacterial, and they'll tell you to use it to clean your piercing so it doesn't become infected. That's actually detrimental because the dose in the antibacterial dial soap is not high enough to actually kill the bacteria, so it's just allowing them to evolve even faster. So I know a lot of y'all have heard of penicillin, which was a common antibiotic that they used back in the day. They still use it sometimes. So, but penicillin is just one chemical constituent making it easy for bacteria to adapt and resist. So because most of the antibiotics that they use today are just one chemical constituent, the bacteria, they can easily evolve past that. They're like, oh, that's just one chemical. We just have to figure out how to get over this one chemical, how to maneuver around this one chemical, and then we're good. So this is where herbs come into place, because one herb, say for example, cinnamon. Cinnamon has hundreds, if not thousands, of chemical constituents. So there's absolutely no way for a bacteria to evolve around the mechanisms put in place to kill bacteria in cinnamon, because there's so many chemical constituents, where as opposed to a modern antibiotic they would give you in the hospital only has one chemical constituent, so the bacteria can just easily just get around that one chemical constituent and keep it moving. So although bacteria evolve and adapt and they turn into superbugs, so do plants. So that's the great thing about plants, that just like bacteria are evolving and they're turning into superbugs and the antibiotics are becoming useless and ineffective, plants are evolving too. So there's never going to be a case where plants aren't going to be able to combat bacteria. Okay. So I said all of that to say this. So these are some antibacterial herbs that you can use if you have BV or if you have STD or if you have any type of bacterial infection, not a viral infection, a bacterial infection. So these are some herbs that you can use, and I'm just going to list them. There's about 15 that I have down here, and then I'll post them below because you probably won't remember everything that I say. So we have Astragalus, echinacea, garlic, oregano, sage, aniseed, fennel, yarrow, cinnamon, green tea, thyme, citrus seed extract, cloves, rosemary, and peppermint. So you basically would take it in the same way that you would take any antibiotic that they would prescribe you in the hospital. So usually if you go to the hospital and they give you an antibiotic, it'll say on a jar, take 2 times a day or take 3 times a day. If you're going to be using a herb, an antibacterial herb, you're doing it in the same way. So, but with these, I would say to take them 3 times a day. So you're going to take 1 dose of these herbs 3 times a day. And you can usually pick, herbs work best together, like 2 or 3. So you can pick 2 or 3 of these herbs that I mentioned and take it 3 times a day. And you can take it either as a tea or as a tincture. Now, for STDs and BV, I would recommend also doing a topical application of herbs as well as doing it orally. So in addition to taking a tea or a tincture orally, I would do a suppository. So basically a suppository is just, it kind of looks like a bullet, but what it is it's some type of natural butter. Like you can use cocoa butter or shea butter, and then you're gonna add the essential oils from the herb list that I just mentioned. So for example, you can take cocoa butter and shea butter, melt it in a pot, let it pour into, they have suppository mold. You can make this yourself. You can order a suppository mold on Amazon. They're just a few dollars. So you're just going to melt the shea butter or the cocoa butter at a low temperature. Don't turn it up too high because you don't want to damage the butter. So you're going to melt it on low, pour it into the suppository mold, and then you're going to add some of the essential oils. So for example, you can do a rosemary or a peppermint essential oil or a clove or a cinnamon essential oil. You're just going to add a few drops to each suppository mold, and then you're going to insert it into your vagina right before you go to sleep, so you don't mess up your clothes or anything like that. And if you're a male, you can also use a suppository. Obviously, you don't have a vagina, so what you would do is after you make the suppository, you let it cool off, let it harden a little bit. You'll take the suppository out, and it'll melt in your hand. Like if you kind of rub it together, let it melt in your hands, and then just apply it to your penile shaft. You can do that before you go to bed too. Just kind of, you can sleep naked so you don't, get the butters and the oils everywhere. Or if you want to put some boxers on, you can do that. So for this, again, you want to take an oral treatment 3 times a day, and then you're going to do the suppository once a day before you go to bed, right? Some other natural antibiotics and antiseptics are sunlight. So sunlight acts as a natural antiseptic. It resets your circadian rhythms, which is your sleep patterns. It improves sleep. It converts cholesterol to vitamin D in your skin. It decreases the risk of depression. It increases immunoregulatory cytokines, which are basically just substances that help fight infections. It improves mood, and it decreases non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So I know a lot of, especially people of color, our parents told us, like, don't stay out in that sun all day. You're gonna get black or you're gonna get dark. Don't listen to that. You need to be out in the sun because, as I said, when you're out in the sun, you get vitamin D, and you need vitamin D to fight infections. And the thing with us melanated people is that our skin already acts as a natural sun barrier. So if our skin is already a barrier to the sun, and then you're not going outside in the sun, you're deficient in vitamin D by default. There's no other way around it. You're deficient, and which is why you may be getting sick a lot, or which is why you'll get sick in the wintertime, because you're not being able to the vitamin convert convert vitamin D, convert cholesterol to vitamin D in your skin, excuse me. So you definitely need to get out in the sun, and I know it's hard to get sun in the winter time. So some things you can do is, what I do is, I would just open up all my blinds and pull my curtains back and let the natural sunlight, because even though the sun isn't shining bright, you still getting the sun rays in the winter time. So I'll just have my house just full, all the windows open, all the blinds open, and I'm just getting sunlight. I don't really turn on the lights in the wintertime, and that also helps save you on energy costs. So just use a natural sunlight when you're at home. In the summertime, try to stay outside for at least an hour so that you can get that vitamin D, because most people in America are vitamin D deficient, and this is why a lot of people have cancer. It's not the only reason why you have cancer, but it's contributing to why you may get cancer or other infections, because you're vitamin D deficient due to your melanin and then not going out in the sun. Some other natural antibiotics, antiseptics are manuka honey, probiotics, and fermented foods. So probiotics and fermented foods basically have bacteria in them, and they will help to replenish your body with helpful bacteria. Some examples of fermented foods are sauerkraut and kimchi. Kimchi basically is like a kind of a Korean cabbage. It's kind of spicy. I don't really like kimchi, but I do like sauerkraut. So sauerkraut is good if you like that. If you like kimchi, try kimchi. They have it at Kroger. They have it at a lot of different health food stores, Whole Foods. You can try it out. You may or may not like it. And then I wrote this down, and this is kind of funny, but I mean, it's not funny, but some people don't know. So I'm just going to say, if you're a woman, make sure you're wiping front to back. And I know a lot of people like, everybody knows that, but some people don't. Some people actually wipe the wrong way, and that's just because they weren't taught. They weren't taught how, maybe they had an absentee mother, or maybe their mom just forgot. I don't know. But some people don't know that they need to wipe front to back. And the reason why you need to wipe front to back is because if you wipe back to front, you're pulling the fecal bacteria from your anus into your vagina, and that's not good. So make sure you wipe front to back. And I think that was it for today. So definitely research about antibiotic resistance. I'm going to leave the link for the CDC website where you can find some information on your own. I'm going to leave a link for the antibacterial herbs. Try it. I mean, definitely try it. There's no harm in trying it. Help fight the public health crisis that is not really being talked about, but which is a crisis. I always say, like, we have an obligation as people of the human community to make this world a safer place. And so definitely educate yourself. And I mean, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. That's fine. But if you are interested, definitely do it. And as always, please like, share, subscribe. And if you have any questions, leave a comment or inbox me. All right, bye.